Hello and welcome again. So today I'm going to be talking about yet another plant. Surprise, surprise. This here is Hemerocallis or Hemerocallis. It's in the Sphattolaceae family, which is a huge family that includes lots of things that have like rosettes at the base. It's a very extensive family actually of a lot of perennials, a lot of alpine flowers too. So a Sphattolaceae, that's your family of the day. It's also very commonly known as the daylily. I think that's what most people know about it. But it's actually not a true lily because it doesn't produce bulbs. So Hemerocallis is a genus that is completely distinct from lilies, given its nomenclature. It's just another weirdness, an oddity of language, if you will. So this plant over here is notoriously hard to divide. In my experience, I usually get like a really sort of blunt shovel and just kind of hack the crap out of it in the middle of the large clumps once it's established after a couple of years, and that's how I divide it. Um, which sounds kind of abusive, but this plant can take a lot of abuse. It emerges very very similar to a flag iris. Actually, I think that's a good comparison. This is just kind of like the top view of what it looks like. So this particular plant manifests itself in many different colors. New hybrids are coming out every single day. There's some more of what I would personally call boring varieties. I have one right over here. This here is Stella de Oro, so this here is a green variety. It's a slightly more miniature variety. And then I have another one here. I have no freaking clue which one this is, but it has a beautiful kind of purple and yellow type flower. It's a little bit more broad in its leaf structure. These plants here are not edible, unfortunately. I mean, you could try. I just don't think they would taste very good. They reproduce via these little stolonic tubers underground, and they create clumps that way. This plant here, I would say, is hardy to about negative 12 Celsius. I think that's a bit generous, though. Yeah, negative 12 Celsius. Actually, I think is kind of fair. They'll bloom more for you if you pinch off the dead bloom points, and they're known as the daylily because each bloom has a bloom interval. It's only open for approximately a day or two, but most of them are fragrant and they smell really quite good. It's a very sweet smell. As far as what they attract monarch butterflies. That seems to be the most popular pollinator among daylilies, and they're very often referred to as a heritage perennial. They're so long-lived that in some abandoned house sites, you'll actually see them at that property well after people have left. I would easily put their lifespan at a clump, if you were to divide it and maintain it regularly, to over 30 years. They're a very long-lived plant, and they tend to really regenerate that blooming habit quite well after you divide them. Um, what else do I have to say about that? Here in British Columbia, they emerge from the ground in, I would say, mid-February is when you'll start seeing shoots. But once the shoots get to about this size, like a few inches, that occurs. I mean, we're having a really fantastic March, which is kind of ironic because the whole quarantine. But weather-wise, this has been a really good March here in British Columbia. So they're coming up a lot earlier than expected. But if you're inland, like Alberta, Saskatchewan type places, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, those states and provinces, you can expect them to come in a little bit later, more like mid-April. Um, this particular plant requires very, very exceptional drainage, but with that said, it will tolerate a degree of drought. So once they're established, I would say after a couple of seasons, you basically don't even have to worry about watering them. In the respects of fertilizer, I would apply a little bit of fertilizer just in the respects of blooming. Excuse me, just to enhance the number of blooms that you get. And some common problems. So sometimes you get like a tiny little bit of like browning at the tips. That's natural. That's just a bit of frost burn. At the bases of the fans, sometimes you'll get a little bit of rot. Sometimes you get snail, other gastropod damage coming out of those, but it's not generally detrimental to the health of the plant. I think I have a few more here actually to show you. So among other things, I have another little one. I think this is called Petite Minuet. It's very similar to the Stella de Oro. It's just a yellow flower. Some of them are faster to divide than other ones, being much more vigorous, but for the most part they're pretty good, and you can divide them every 3 years. So yeah, this here is Hemerocallis, or the daylilies, Asphodelaceae family. They're pretty well globalized. You can find them naturally occurring pretty well everywhere in the northern hemisphere. But a lot of them are new hybrid varieties too, so got to be mindful of what you're buying and be careful about like trademarks and stuff. And propagators' rights, for example. Yeah. So happy growing. Have a good one.